Before we opened Crew, we actually got knocked back from our loan 2 times, and it was really hard to get the financials to open up a gym. It's not easy to open a gym. Everything's got to be perfect in the back end to get it going. We believed that we were going to get the loan, but we didn't know if we were or not, so we just signed the lease, and we took our accounts both down to zero. We spent everything we had. The theory behind that was, I reckon we'll get the loan and we'll reimburse ourselves.
Yeah.
But look, bro, that was a moment.
On the gym.
That was a moment, honestly, between 2 best mates that I know. I looked at Jason. I'm like, he's got my back as much as I've got his back.
If we fail together.
If we're happy to do that together, I can go back and work as a PT at a franchise gym and pay my $300 and I'll restart.
Yeah, we'll golden, baby girl, we'll golden. They're about to see us shine, cause we're golden. They can't ever break us down, cause we're golden. They're about to see us.
All right, lads, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having us, bro.
Were you excited for the day?
Nervous, man. What's this, our third attempt?
Because Jace has done one with me back in the day, and we were saying early on that the first time I did it with Jace, yeah, like we were sitting on a couple of reformer beds. There was no video; it was just audio.
Me, you, and these 2 headsets, bro. That's it.
In a cold room, sitting up against the wall.
Yeah.
And then the next one, we were sitting in a cabin in Benalla.
Yeah, we tried to do it online.
Fucking hell. No, but I mean, I've been pretty excited to get both of you on. Obviously, knowing you guys quite well, I've almost had a front row seat to the journey of Crew and what it's become. And I mean, the crazy thing is you guys are still very early on in the journey. Like it's basically still a startup, which is pretty crazy to think, but really excited because I mean, me doing what I do, I'm a business guy. I love to analyze. I love to get a really good look from the outside and try to, make sense of it all, right? And say, okay, this is why this is working. But I don't think we've ever really kind of talked about it. I mean, back obviously in the day we did, but obviously as time goes by, I don't think we've ever really talked about some of the lessons that you guys have learned, some of the things that you did that, really makes Crew what it is. But, I think the exciting thing is what we want to bring to kind of this episode is obviously an inside look at the journey and how it's gotten to where it is and also, for you guys being the people driving that as well. But I guess let's start from the start, right? So tell us a little bit about Crew. Tell us, how long you've been in business, how it all started and how you guys kind of come together as well. Because
so it started a while back now. So over 10 years ago, Jason and I started working together under a strength and conditioning gym out in Point Cook called Hurt Center. And that's where Jason and I formed our friendship, and we worked side by side for each other, AM, PM, for a good 4 years. And then from there, we obviously decided it was time that we needed to grow and do our own thing, and then made the move to a franchise gym and did subcontract base, which was Crunch Fitness out at High Point Shopping Centre. So once we did that, we made the move out there, and we were there for a good solid 4 years and kind of grinded away there, building a good clientele and creating kind of a mini Crew, what we've got now. And the whole concept was to create a community before we could step out, obviously, into that gym game, and didn't really have an end goal with when it was going to happen. It was very daunting opening a gym because you don't know when it's the right time to execute.
2 young blokes that had no idea what they were doing, but took a stab at it.
Yeah, definitely. It was passion that drove it at the start. Like both obviously played sport, loved training, and just loved getting around people and creating kind of like that sport club feeling inside a gym and that community that we started building. And then we kind of got to a point where, we had a shared clientele base of about 120 clients, and we thought, we're pumping out over 50 sessions each. We're doing semi-privates. We're like, we definitely can do this. And then that's when the journey started. We decided that Jace was actually in London at the time boxing, and I gave him a phone call and I said, hey, bro, I'm looking at a building right now. And he goes, what do you mean?
You guys are going to take over this building. I'm not private, haven't seen? Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't know. My dad took me here and he reckons it's a good building. And lucky we didn't take it because it was $15K a month and the outgoings were nearly 15,000, and didn't really know too much about the commercial kind of game then. So we obviously kept chipping away for about another 12 months. Jace got back from London, and then that's when, we started meeting, people like yourself, and Jason and I started sitting down and changing our mindset from obviously being, one-on-one coaches in a commercial gym to focusing more on business and, reverse engineering what the business would be and what money we need to have and what kind of space that we need to have to execute our business plan, because that's the biggest thing, is like sizing of the building, floor plan, financials. You've got to do all those, 1%ers before you actually jump into just taking over the keys to a building because you're emotionally attached to it.
Yeah.
So that's definitely where it started. And
I remember, man, so clearly. So I was in London, I was boxing over there, and then I come back, and then that's when I started at Crunch. And he did 4 years.
Jace, put that a little bit closer.
He did 4 years. Is that
Yeah.
better? He did 4 years. I did probably just under a year, but we had the shared clientele base within that 11 and a half months. And I remember it was his birthday, and what happened was, so when we started, I was already coming over with clients, and what would happen was Crunch would always grill us about being a commercial gym. Obviously, the equipment's for everyone. The grass length was for everyone. So when we used to have a 5-on-1. We used to run two groups. It was just 2 trainers, 10 people. You know what I mean? So that we're like, realistically, if they ever said anything to us, we're abiding by the rules kind of thing. One day we were running a big session, and I think he wasn't wearing his badge, bro. And because our clientele base had gotten so big, the people that were members of the gym class, from Crunch, wanted to train with us. So that it just kicked up a massive stink. They weren't happy about it. Anyway, we were looking for a building. We'd finally found Braybrook, after months of looking for so long. And as soon as we got the building, this nuffy put in the signature part of your email, 123 Cranwell Street. Anyway, the manager messaged him about his badge, and he replied to her, and she goes, "That's awfully close, Damon." She didn't know what to say. Anyway, they sacked us on the spot. We got fired from Crunch, bro. So, but that wasn't because we were close. It was because our business had gotten so big that they were annoyed at us how well we were doing. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, that was the case, and then we ended up moving out of there. And then we went through all these processes and stuff. And then once we moved into Braybrook, it was just so much easier working for ourselves, bro. We didn't have to obviously look up to head management and stuff like that. We were the head management,
I definitely think that turning point at that time was obviously probably the best thing for us as a business, because we were on it was kind of on the fence whether we execute and we go through with obviously completing our facilities full time, where we're kind of a bit nervous, bro. Obviously, opening a gym financially, it takes a lot of money. Being so young as well, in a business so young, getting money from the banks and stuff like that, it's not easy.
Impossible.
It's very hard to go to a bank being, when I was 23 years old and Jason was 25, when we opened 24, when we opened our first facilities. So going to the bank and obviously, wanting to get, $500,000 or $400K loan to us wasn't easy at all. Everything had to be perfect. So because of that, we needed to keep working. We needed an income. So we wanted to keep working as long as possible while we were building Braybrook. But look, to be honest, obviously, once we kind of cut ties with Crunch, it was probably the best thing for us because we could vision crew to what we wanted to be, and we went full-time, friends, family. We were there building the gym to what we wanted. And we'll be able to create, our space to what it is now, which, it truly is amazing to what it is now. And then obviously in a 12-month period of time, we got to open our second facility. So, yeah, look, the start of the journey was textbook. It was cool, started at a strength conditioning gym, went to a franchise gym, and then made the leap from there into our own commercial sector to open our own facilities.
Yeah, and so just for everyone at home, because there's a follow-up question to that I'd love to ask, but just for everyone at home, so you guys are now at Gym 2, and Gym 2 opened in December.
Yeah.
And that was a how long have you been practicing that?
Yeah. As soon as this podcast started, I'll be waiting to say that.
He's been reading it every night before bed.
In the car when he's got the date we opened.
So Gym 2 just opened in December. It's a bit bigger.
Massive, yeah.
Massive, but...
1,500 square metres in total. Braybrook is 870. and that's out in Hoppers Crossing just off Old Geelong Road.
Yeah, amazing. So one of the things I've always been interested in early on, which I think you guys did a lot differently to most, but a lot of people start slow.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of people kind of come in and they're like, yeah, like, you know, we can get the good equipment later. We can make it look pretty later. We just need to open the doors. But one thing that you guys did that even Jamie Smith actually mentioned on the podcast that I did with him, and he kind of mentioned, look, you know, that was, you guys were the inspiration for him getting his new facility and really making it amazing. But you guys went straight into, you know, an amazing facility, and obviously you guys said you obviously went to the banks and you put yourself under a lot of pressure initially to get this off the ground, but you guys obviously had a vision for what you wanted to create. So, and a lot of people don't do that. Like a lot of people like, nah, like less risk, let's just kind of go in and you know, we can kind of build to this thing that we really want to build. And I think that's one of the things that I noticed with your facility from the get-go, that, you know, and I've got a theory, right, that I'm going to put by you guys. Taught it in my course, everything, and use you guys as an example. And we can kind of go through that later. But you guys had an amazing looking facility from the very get-go. Was that a strategy you guys implemented, you know, you wanted that from the very start, and that's a kind of, you went in and go, look, this is what we're going to do?
Yeah, 100%. So I think one of the biggest turning points was to go big. Was we worked at a small box gym to start off with. And then we noticed a few, you know, negatives being in a small box gym. Why we couldn't drag people there was because it was like small, not enough equipment, it was too functional,
wasn't aesthetic enough.
Then we went to a commercial gym, and when we were there as well, it was like, I don't want to get a membership here because I also want to do recovery, or I got a Pilates membership, and so on. So there was always like these reasons why, you know, people didn't want to go to these certain gyms, and it was just something that we kept mapping out together and looking at faults of companies that are successful, not saying that they're not, but it was definitely things that they didn't put into their business model, and they're losing money because they're not dragging these people into their facilities. So that was a massive reason to why we were like, let's keep building until we can execute the facilities where we can literally touch every single system possible and have a big hybrid model. And do it properly. Have Pilates, have strength and conditioning, have a commercial gym section, do boxing, do recovery, get the whole lot done in the one building. And I noticed a lot of my clients when I was training, and you would have too, Kyle, being a personal trainer, and Jace did as well. Obviously, you'd always train a client, but then after a PT session, they might say they're going to, you know, a aquatic center to go do recovery, or, you know, they're going to a Pilates studio tomorrow. And I'm like, this is a model that would work if we could find the right people to come on board with us. And that's the big thing about Crew. It's not Jason and I. You know, like, the reason why Crew is what it is because we have such good partners under the Crew branding that are bringing their business dream alive too, which has allowed us to make Crew what it is. And then aesthetic sells. So we went big with our aesthetic because it's like, I know for a fact that when Jason and I would go into a good gym or a mad space and it was clean, it was cool artwork, you just feel motivated to train.
First thing you do is take a photo though, don't you? You know, if you go somewhere cool, you pull your phone out. When we had Crew, it was like, one thing we need to do is need to make it look cool. Like, the system's cool, but it needs to look cool as well. Like, if people can see that this is aesthetic and everything's color coded, everything's matched, everything's nice, then you've got this cool artwork as soon as you walk in. That one of them, obviously, once we had Danielle artwork, she was amazing, bro. Like, the first thing we did when we had the building, she come. It was a massive turning point. People walked into a gym, we were like, bro, look at LeBron James on the wall. That was the first thing that people took. They were like, the gym looks unreal, but look at the wall. Yeah. And then it was like, that sold on its own. Everyone's like, I want to go train where LeBron is. And
that's the thing. We got like LeBron James, 7 meters high, about 5 meters wide. So he's big. He looks over here in the gym, you know. You got the king looking over here inside the gym. So that was a massive thing because, yeah, it cost us, say, you know, anywhere, like all the artwork, say you're paying anywhere between like, you know, 7 to 15K for your artwork to get completed, right? But then from there, it's a once hit. Then all your marketing's done and dusted. We're getting free marketing non-stop. We've paid that off already because that drawed so many people in to sign up because Crew is known for their cool artwork, cool looking equipment, and obviously the vibe that we bring, yes. But the biggest thing for Crew is like people love going there because it is such a cool looking place.
Yeah, and so, you know, the theory I taught, right, is one thing in the class that I taught when I referenced you guys was like, okay, look at their feed, and it's very aesthetically pleasing, but you guys don't post a whole lot, right? But your following's always kind of growing, and one of the things I said is now go to tagged photos.
Yeah.
Right, and people would go to tagged photos, and you know, the one thing is that no matter where someone takes a photo in your gym, there's something that really stands out in the background, right? Like the 100 sign, or you know, Kobe, or you know, LeBron, you know, Tyson Fury out the front, and then, you know, and that's kind of something that I think is like post-purchase branding, right? It's like, in like my opinion, post-purchase branding always creates free marketing, right? So it's like T-shirts, or you know, if you create really cool T-shirts that everyone likes to wear, all of a sudden that's creating free marketing for you. And I think that was a really like, you know, one thing that, and you know, I think one of the key things for me that I started to look at for you guys is how well you guys actually understood your customer, right? Like the people that come into your gym, the particular type of person that comes to your gym probably doesn't necessarily care too much. Like, they care about their training, but what they care more about is who they're training with.
Yeah, buddy.
And their community, and the people they're around, and the vibe, and all those kind of things, right?
Yeah.
And the key point for me of like looking at you guys and going, okay, these guys really understand their customer, and I want to hear this story. But was it Kendall? Kendall went up on the wall, because I'm like, when I first seen it, I was like, oh fucking hell, I don't really get this, you know. But then as I started to think on it and stew on it a lot, it actually started to make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
But to a lot of people, that wouldn't have made a lot of sense,
No,
and it would have been risky, you know. Like that's a risky move,
Yeah,
but I think
definitely.
it also does show how much you guys know your customer.
Well, that was the biggest thing, and it was a massive discussion between myself, Jason, and Jason's partner, Tilly. We did want to, obviously, we wanted to pick a female influencer to chuck up at the facilities. And obviously there's so many great female athletes and influencers that we could have picked. And it was a massive conversation on what we would do. But in her own right, she is very successful in the business world. And we did look at that as well.
Super empowering as well.
She has done some great things and has made a lot of success. And when we decided to execute that, I remember I come to you and I spoke about it, and you were like, "Oh, I don't know." You were scratching your head, and then I got Lush to obviously paint that. So he's the kind of person where if I don't say yes, he ain't going to do it. You know, like I've got one day to confirm it with him, or else I won't get it. He won't reply to a message for 6 months. So I just pulled the trigger and was like, let's do it. And then he come and done it. And yeah, look, when it first happened, it was like it was a bit weird at the start, but then we knew our customers, and our clientele are very young. It's from 20 to 35 age period, and also on top of that as well, our market is like almost 80% females. So I definitely think it was the right move to make, and it has paid off. It's probably on par with the LeBron James that gets snapped up and
even when
uploaded.
When we first got it, I remember we copped a little bit of heat in the first week, but nothing bad. But like people were like, "Oh, why did you do that?" They just questioned us. And it was like when you actually talk about what she's done and who she is. Don't get me wrong, the family hasn't got the most amazing name, but like when you speak her specifically, she's incredible in the business world.
I think they've turned it around though.
I totally agree, and she's so empowering, bro. Like, mate, she's massive, And then once you say that to someone, it's like, oh, I understand. Like, I can sort of see why you guys got that. It wasn't just because she's amazing looking. Yeah, no doubt. But there's a bit more of a back-end story. You know what I mean? Like,
Jake's got a man crush.
That's the real reason it went up.
Yeah.
No, definitely. And I mean, like for me, it just, once I stewed on it for a bit, I'm like, no, it definitely makes sense. And I think it was you kind of and the thing that was really cool about it, right, was when that happened, it was during COVID, right?
Yeah.
And it was, you guys had your outdoor sessions.
Yeah.
That were pumping, that was a big period for you guys as well.
We when COVID hit, that was massive. Obviously, so like when we opened Braybrook, we had our doors open for 4 months. 4 months in total. Then that first lockdown hit was for a week, and then we opened up again, and then we went into a harsh lockdown. And when that happened, we just had to adapt straight away because, Jason and I, we love working. We're very hands-on. I love coaching. Jason loves coaching. We love being a part of the people inside our gym. So we decided that we'll get a permit and we'll turn crew outdoors, from indoors into the outdoor court that we've got. And as you know, we've got the basketball court. We have all the artwork there. And I'm like, this is perfect. It's aesthetic. It looks good. We've got a good amount of space. So we went and hit up one of our mates. He built us some squat racks for outdoors. We got all the benches. We literally rolled it all out. And then we started running outdoor boot camps in our car park for 7 days a week. And the good thing about that was how good our court actually looked. I don't know many car parks that look like that, You got a b-ball court, you got all your artwork, you got Tyson Fury as well there on the wall. So it was just like outdoor marketing for our boot camps was crazy. And then in that 6-month period, we ended up having 175 leads that weren't crew members come to our outdoor boot camps. And then we converted over 60 of them into memberships once we opened.
It was a hard one, because when COVID hit, we had two options. It was either like option one, like do the lockdown like everyone else and just sort of be like, being a gym, like feel sorry for ourselves, which it did. It really sucked. It hurt the business a lot. But then the other option was like we would be online and like as soon as the government had their guidelines on what you could do. So I remember it so clearly. I think it was a Sunday night. They come out online and they're like, you're allowed to start one-on-ones. So bang, we started one-on-ones straight away. Within I think it was a 2-3 week period, it was like 5-on-1. Bang, we started 5-on-1s. We were probably I can't say we're the only one because there were a lot of people doing it, but when we were doing it, we were big on social media. The call obviously looked good. That's why we grew so far. We had so many new people coming to us in the lockdown, not from being inside, it was because of the lockdown, because we were offering these group classes and everyone still loved training. And where could you do it? You were doing it in Cranwell Street in the car park, And
it was pumping. You guys did it really well, yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of things too, Kyle, with obviously the COVID situation, the outdoors, there was a lot of gyms that were still charging people memberships and not offering them a service, where we weren't really looking at it from a financial point of view. We were more looking at it from a numbers point of view and long term, because I did have hope that we were coming out of COVID. And I definitely looked at it from a business model where if we could service as many people right now, because when COVID hits, no one's locked into a contract anymore. No one's going to a gym. They're out on their own. So their options are open. They're happy to go trial new things. So for us, it was like offering free boot camps, trying to get people in. We're doing 7-day trials for our outdoor boot camp that we do indoors. So we ran our model that we do inside, outside. The classes stayed the same. Monday was lift, Tuesday was power. So nothing changed. We did crew in our car park. And that for us was massive. We actually got so many leads from COVID courtyard sessions that allowed us to reopen our doors. Within 2 weeks of reopening after COVID, we went back to peak numbers.
Yeah, we boomed straight away.
So we hit, as soon as we reopened at about 250, then went straight back up to 320. So in a group training facilities, that was just our class-based numbers. So
I think it talks, again, I think it's one of the things that I'm underlining for this conversation is just how beneficial it is to understand your customer.
Yeah.
Because there was decisions that you guys made along the journey that probably factored into, without knowing so, the Kendall in the courtyard and then the courtyard sessions coming and COVID hitting, but just how important it is for business owners to understand their customer. Because when you can build a product that you're the way I kind of looked at your business was you had a product that sells itself. So basically all you guys had to do was get someone to the door. Yeah. Right? If you got someone to the door, you knew they'd do a trial. Once they were in the door, the community and the vibe of the sessions is what keeps people there.
Yep.
And that's okay, cool. That's what gets them to actually sign up. They come in, they have this great experience. Everybody's going around each other, the community, all the extra stuff that you guys do outside of training as well. And the whole experience of what you get into that gym is what kept people there. And then back to kind of what we were saying before, whereas now you've got someone who's an advocate for the gym And because it's aesthetically pleasing, because of, you know, your customer being young and being on Instagram and these kind of things, and the aesthetics of the place, that's what would create the marketing for you guys. And then that's what gets more people to the door, and it was just kind of never-ending cycle in a sense.
Yeah.
And that was kind of something that I identified from the outside looking in, but I think that's, you guys really understand your customer, and from, you know, for people listening, like, it just shows how if you can get it right, and you can get it right from the start, that's and exactly you can go all in on this product and really make it something that fills a hole for a particular person out there, then you can definitely get exponential growth.
Yeah, for sure.
So coming back to, like, you know, like, let's say year one, or even like the first 18 months, was there particular moments or a particular, you know, characteristic that both of you showed, or you know, really anything that you guys look back and say, hey, like, that played a massive role in us actually getting to where we are right now? You know, like, could have been a moment, could have been a characteristic that you showed.
I think, you know, like Damon said before, within the first 3-4 months we hit lockdown. So, like, realistically, like, when you look back, we jumped out of the gates, and I remember it was like 2.5 months in, I'm like, man, this is amazing, we're doing so well, it's so good. But then when we had COVID, it was like, I remember looking at Damon and just speaking to him and being like, bro, like, you know, what do we need to do now? Like, what's the go-to now? And I think that it just obviously we've always worked together so closely, and having that best friend relationship, we always leaned on each other. But it was like that in that time, we had to lean on each other more than ever, because if it was like sink or swim. The business would have sunk if we didn't do anything. Whereas, like, we were so proactive. We had one foot forward, and we're just like, bro, I remember catching up. Obviously, we weren't even allowed, in the start of lockdown, we weren't even allowed to see each other. But I was like, I'm going to his house, bro. We're sitting down. We'd map out what we're doing. And we had to work together. And because we knew how much the business meant to us. You know what I mean? We put our whole life into that business. When we started it, like, backtracking a little bit, we put every bit of savings we had into that business. Yeah, and so if it didn't work, we're fucked.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I wanted to touch base on, and I don't think, obviously, and I always wanted to talk about it, was that Jason and I, before we opened Crew, we actually got knocked back from our loan 2 times, and it was really hard to get the financials to open up a gym. It's not easy to open a gym. Everything's got to be perfect in the back end to get it going. And Jason and I decided that we believed that we were going to get the loan, but we didn't know if we were or not. So we just signed the lease, and we took our accounts both down to zero. We spent everything we had. So we had literally, man, I remember when we first opened Braybrook, I had $100 left in my account after we're done. We dumped every single bit of coin that we had to get this joint up and going. And our theory behind that was, I reckon we'll get the loan and we'll reimburse ourselves.
Yeah.
But look, bro, that was a moment.
On the gym.
That was a moment, honestly, between 2 best mates that I know. I looked at Jason. I'm like, he's got my back as much as I've got his back. If we fail together. If we're happy to do that together, I can go back and work as a PT at a franchise gym and pay my $300 and I'll restart. And that was a big thing to, you know, even like, that's why we weren't really afraid of COVID so much, because, man, we took the leap before COVID even come. We dropped everything we had to open Crew, and we had so much trust and passion behind us, knowing that the clients that we had were going to come with us. And that once we opened doors, you know, we were happy to just chip away. We didn't take a wage from our Braybrook facilities for the first 8 months in total, and then we start off with paying each other $300 a week. Our priority was our trainers, our class coaches, all of our subbies, the facilities. We kept pumping money back into the business. So once we opened our doors, any equipment that we didn't have, as soon as we had enough, we pumped it straight back in. We kept going, because that showed to our clients that we were so passionate about our brand, and that we were happy to keep growing it and keep building it. So I think that for me was a massive kind of turning point before we even opened the gym. That I was there with Jace, you know, the night before our open day. It was 3 a.m. in the morning. We had to be back there at 6 o'clock to do our open day. And we were driving down the highway with his dad's ute. We had a trailer on the back full of rubbish. We had to go drop it off at his dad's joint, go home, shower up, go to bed, and then we were ready to go. But it just showed like what we would go to the lengths that we'll do for each other. So that was my turning point.
I remember speaking to you about this, the podcast that we did, the boxing one, and you said I remember you said to me so clearly, like, if you can get through this, like, as in COVID, you can get through anything. And that was like the mentality, like, we just got to get through it. It's not going to last forever. We knew it was going to last forever, but just hold on, bro. Like, as long as we're together, we know that we'll do it. You know what I mean? We'll get through it.
Yeah, and definitely. I think the thing with that is like, you know, you guys back yourselves in and you back your product in. And I'm the same. You know, like, I'm never afraid to take the leap on anything.
Yeah.
You know, we took a leap on this.
Yeah.
We didn't make a single cent. We're about to get our first check, our first bit of revenue.
It's amazing.
And we're 8 months in, you know. But the reality is, and you know, this is kind of something that, a question that I had for you guys, but do you guys think that a lot of the reason some business owners struggle sometimes is because they actually don't go all in, right? Because the reality is, when you go all in, you don't have the choice. You know, like, yeah, cool. It'd be fucking great if I could just roll over and let COVID beat me.
Yeah.
You know, well, it wouldn't be great, but it's like more like, you know, you don't have a choice when you're all in on something. And when you believe in the product, when you believe in what you're doing, you back yourself in. And I often think that that's a big reason why business owners struggle, is because they dip their foot in.
Yeah.
Right. And then they wonder why, when shit goes wrong, why their mentality shifts to negative, or this happened to me, or, you know, why aren't we growing, or why aren't we, you know, why is this happening, instead of what can we do to actually get through this?
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes you got to scrape the bottom of the barrel. Sometimes you get to your last $10, and that's okay, because at the end of the day, if you're all in on something, you get through it because you don't have a choice.
If you back your product, the one thing, obviously, when COVID hit, people love training. It doesn't matter who you are. If you train to feel good, and to people train to feel good, look good. That was one thing that we all got in Melbourne. We all got to take it away from us. It was a hard time. Like, you had 1 hour of bloody sunlight. You know what I mean? It was like being in jail. But then as soon as we knew the product that we offered, as soon as them gates were open, we were up and running again. You know.
Yeah, and I definitely do think that from a business point of view, I think people do hold back a lot on putting everything that they've got. I think a lot of people are so passionate about their business, and like myself and Jason, I'd do anything for crew. It's everything that I live for, man. Like, it's all I wanted to do was own a gym facilities. And now that I've got it, I'll do anything I can to keep making that gym the best facilities in the western suburbs, and hopefully, obviously, one day be the best gym across Melbourne. Because we don't plan to stop. I want to keep growing, and we will keep doing everything we can to put back into the facilities. And I think a lot of people do hold back, definitely, out of probably financial stress and fear. And I think that is probably something that really holds people back from making their business boom. And I think sometimes, yes, it's good to have a business plan and stick to structure, and not kind of be a bit of a cowboy and go, let's just go all in and whatever happens, happens, because people do have an outside life outside of business. But with Jason and I, like, crew is our life. Even outside of crew, we just talk about crew. Yeah. We work on crew. We go away on holidays together. We're always thinking about crew. Can we run a retreat here? Can we do this?
About this guy.
I annoy him. I'm just crew. So I definitely think it's personal, someone's personal situation and where they're at in their life. But I definitely think for us, we're all in kind of people. And I think you can tell that probably by this conversation too, how we talk, how our energy is as well. Like, we're all about, exactly like you, just putting it all in and going for it.
So one of the things I've always thought, like, like you guys being in a partnership and a relationship, and obviously being in it together, it's not the easiest. Like, Jace, you're a professional boxer now, and you've obviously been boxing at the highest level for a long time, and there's been times when Jace has gone away, and obviously that would be difficult on both of you, because I know, Jace, you would do everything you could to be there 100% of the time, and obviously Damo, it's difficult for yourself because, especially early on, it's like you guys didn't have much staff.
The day we opened Braybrook, so the first day that we opened Braybrook, we opened on Saturday. I flew to Russia on Sunday. I missed the first week of the gym, But I, people always said, I'll be honest, people always said it was going to be hard to be in business with your best friend. And, I think, we're how many years in now, and I honestly swear to God, it's been probably the best thing that's ever happened to us, because one, it's brought us closer. But I know it would be, there's no doubt. And I tell Damon, I'm so thankful for what he does for the business while I'm gone. And obviously while I'm here as well. But like, while I'm gone, it is hard. It's hard on him because he takes on my load. But it's hard for me because I feel like, shit, like I can't be there. And I feel like it's hard. So I try and do the back end stuff. And props to him because he nails it. You know what I mean? But I have so much trust and he has so much faith in me that like, you know, if he goes away, I'll do the same thing for him.
Yeah.
But no, but like, you know, I missed the first week of the gym, bro. It was like, he's
Of
like,
both gyms.
Both gyms.
Oh, both gyms, man.
Both gyms, yeah. The
And I remember the first gym when we were in Braybrook. Like you said, we had no staff. We had
did everything
PTs. So
ourselves.
we had 2 PTs on board when we first opened the doors. We had Dave Yacarino, and then we had Courtney as well. And they were subbies though. They weren't class coaches. And then we had Taryn, who obviously ran Encore Pilates upstairs, and I had Maddie and Jordan that were running the cafe, and then we had our osteo and physios out the front. But yeah, in terms of obviously the business model, we were a class-based gym with gym access. So man, our opening hours were 5 a.m. till 10 p.m. We didn't have enough money, bro, to buy a fob system. Yeah, like we just blew all of our money on getting this elite facilities artwork equipment. So we couldn't afford a fob system. So the first week, I was the fob system. So I woke up at 4 a.m. I got there, I coached till 10:30, and then I stayed there all the way during the day, bro. I had a pillow in the boxing ring and I was sleeping. And then I'd always leave the door a little bit closed. So if I heard like the curtain like bang, I'd like wake up and pretend I was like just stretching or something.
just cleaning the ring, bro.
And I'd get up and like, hey mate, how are you? Welcome to the crew. And I'd walk him around. And so that was honestly that first week just shows like that we're all in, you know, like yes, Jace was away, but honestly he was a massive support still, you know, like, we didn't have any admin team or anything like that when we started. It was myself, Jason, and Tilly, and we were just, you know, punching it out. And it was, you know, it was a crazy experience that first week. I was doing like 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. just 7 days a week. So
I remember I got back, bro. I've never seen him with bigger bag under his eyes. And I'm like, bro, just chill. And then we're obviously not having the system. We used to, so if I did the morning and he did the after, it was just us. It was a 2-man team. So I would go from either or. We'd go 5 a.m. to 12 o'clock, and then he would come in from 12 o'clock and work till 8. You know what I mean? But it was like, it was so hard, bro. You had to be there. And then after like a few weeks, like, as you know, like home is nice, yeah? Like after you're being somewhere for so long, it gets hard to be there a little bit. But after a while, we started to introduce a team, and once we had enough money in the kitty, which was almost 12 months later, I think, we put the fob system on. It was probably the best thing that we ever did, you know?
It's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Best investment I've made.
Yeah, 100%. So back to the relationship thing, right? So from a relationship standpoint then, like what are some of the things or some advice that you could give people who may be in a partnership and maybe they're struggling or maybe maybe they're thinking about doing it and so on, because you guys have been able to do it successfully. So like, what are some of the things that you guys do?
I think Kyle, like a trial and error thing is always great, and we were lucky enough that we could, execute a business prior to opening Crew. We worked with each other under someone else's brand as well as employees. And then after that, we obviously shared a business under Crunch Fitness and we worked together. But I think the biggest thing with Jason and I, and like it's just like we understand each other. It's communication as well.
That's communication's key, man.
I definitely know like where the line is with Jason, and he knows with me too. And we are 2 different people as well. You know, like Jason's the calm one that's like chill and we'll sit down and think things out. Where I'm like, let's go. And it's the communication that we have between each other that it goes a long way. And we're very open. Like, I will tell Jason anything and he will tell me anything. And we don't hide not one thing from each other, because I think in business, once money comes to the table, even if it's got nothing to do with money, man, even if it's like a friendship problem or, man, say someone cancelled and what their reason was. Say someone cancelled and they gave a reason and I didn't tell Jace why they cancelled. Like, even those little things could be like, man, why are you not communicating with me about like this issue in the gym? And that can just open a can of worms. So the best advice I can just give to anyone that's going in business with a best mate is like, be open about every single thing. small things, big things, whatever it is, put it on the table. Make sure you're catching up weekly. Yeah. Me and Jace catch up every single week on a Tuesday, 11 o'clock. That time and date does not change. We are always with each other, whether it's an hour, 2 hours, it does not change. And we put everything on the table, from business, anything that's going on, anything we're annoyed with, good things, bad things, everything. It always gets put on the table. And then we do a massive team catch-up once a month. Every month we'll do a big team catch-up and we go over the whole business. And we're very open with our staff and employees as well. As you know, you're obviously on board at Crew doing some mentoring for a while as well. And like you've seen, like our employees are like our best mates, man. We're very open. Yeah. We don't treat it like we're the boss. So, yeah, I definitely think that obviously, you know,
I feel like trust comes through there, right?
Trust and communication's huge, man. Without that, you sink straight away.
Because you're only going to be open with someone if you trust them, and those hard conversations in business are a lot easier to have when you do have that trust for someone. Yeah. They're harder to have when you don't trust, right? Because that's when you start trying to maneuver around it, or you start trying to, you know, you can't, if you can't trust someone in business, it's one of those feelings. It kind of eats you up, and it's one of the hardest things in the world to do. So I think, and that's not just between business partners. It could be with a employee. It could be with management. It could be with anybody. You know, as soon as that trust kind of breaks down, and even if that's just an accident, you know, like if that trust can break down purely from an accidental standpoint, but it is so difficult to have those conversations when that trust breaks down. Whereas if let's say me and Damon are in business together and we trust each other. I'm like, Damon, stop fucking up. Or he goes to me, you, mate, like that's not on. Yeah. And it's okay because we do trust each other. Right. And that trust is also what allows you to kind of lean in and be open to that kind of feedback as well.
Yeah. Well, feedback as well is really big. Like, you know, I think, you know, like early on, say for example, if there was something that I was doing but that Damon didn't like, and, you know, I guess constructive criticism is great, bro. As sometimes people don't want to hear it, but it's true. You know what I mean? Like if, say for example, like if he says, Jace, I don't like the way you're doing that. If I don't agree with it, I have to agree with it because it's going to make our relationship so much better. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you need to learn to understand each other. Like Damon said before, we just understand each other. And if something we know that one of us is doing that the other one doesn't like, okay, well, let's focus on it. Let's work to it, and let's work to better it. So it's not only benefits him, but it's for both of us.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, it's so important, man.
And I think too, man, like obviously being so close and growing up together too, like we're not out to get each other or hurt each other. You know, like his success is my success is his success, and we've kind of, before we opened Crew, man, like sporting based everything. We supported each other nonstop. I've never missed one of his fights. I've flown all across the world, haven't missed a single fight. When I played footy, he watched every single game that I played, you know. So, look, it's not like we randomly met, become best mates. You know, we've been best mates for, you know, the last 15 years, man. So we've been pretty close. So when people kind of like, oh, it's, you know, a do or die situation going into business with your best mate, I think it's probably the most powerful thing we've actually ever done. Because we are so close and we care about each other so much that, you know, when we did business together, our minds looked at Crew the exact same way, and we didn't have different thoughts.
Two trainers who run the exact same systems, if we weren't together with direct competitors, I'm running the same stuff he's running, bro.
I've got it covered, bro.
So all right, what do you? If you could put this into say 2 or 3 things, right? What makes Crew so successful?
Do you want to go first, bro?
I think what makes Crew so successful is the product. You know, like we just spoke about before, is I believe our partners and the systems we run, they're successful because people enjoy it and people love being there. You know what I mean? And say for example, if you have a bad workout, you're bound to leave the gym feeling good because the community that we have is you know, second to none. So the product and the community is massive to us.
Yeah. And you walk into Crew and it's like massive on the wall in both locations, more than movement. And that's our biggest thing. We're more than just a gym, man. And as you know, community is everything at Crew. And we coach with passion. We make sure the energy is high at all times. There's never a session that you'll come to and the energy is low. So that's my biggest thing to why Crew is so successful right now and will continue to be pushing the gym game to be like this is that walking into a gym and being a part of a nice community with friendly people, whether you're a 120 kg mass mountain, or you're a CrossFit athlete, or a footy player, or you're there for body composition, whatever your goal is, when you walk in the door at a gym facilities, everyone is there to better themselves in a health point of view. So be a part of a community and move on that journey together. And that's why I think when you walk in Crew, everyone's there for the energy, for the community, and obviously the facilities. So I definitely think that's my number one, tick, is our community that we've created, and we'll keep pushing that.
Yeah, and I think, again, I just think you guys have nailed the product. Modern Movement's been there since the very start. So you guys knew that you were trying to create something more than just a place people come and train at. Everything from the fucking big Christmas parties.
You got best on.
Even being just little things, bro. We know that this day and age, a lot of people suffer with mental health problems and stuff. Yeah, we all do. We've all, somewhere along the line, we've all had negative thoughts and stuff like that. So that's why we partner. Damon knows Lance very well from Love Me, Love You. These are little things, bro. We have seminars in the gym, and it's a safe place, bro. It's more it's more than movement. It's more than a gym. It's a safe place. Whether if you got something going on, talk to us. We've got good partners that can help people. Young people like us these days, it's crazy. I think having a partnership and being a safe place for young adults, it's so important, man. We're coming to the gym. If you've got problems, open up. We've got people that can help you as well,
Yeah, 100%. I think you guys, again, have done a really great job of making, the fitness industry can be very rigid. It can be very exercise science, nutrition, calories, and these kind of things. And in reality, not everybody goes to the gym for that shit. Not everyone's into that. And I think the thing that you guys were able to identify is we can do that and be about that. But we can focus on this because this is the missing link. This is what keeps people around. This is what makes them enjoy their training. Yeah. And I think that's what you guys have done really well. Everything from the aesthetics to the community stuff that you do to the incorporation of, the recovery and all the external things from the cafe and so on. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, man. The training systems behind the scenes, we put a lot of work into, as you know. And we've had some great mentors along the way, Jamie Smith, Christian Woodford, Russ. We've had a lot of people along the way that we've had conversation with, whether I've trained with them, whether Jace has done strength conditioning programs with. So we've put a lot of effort behind what our training systems are. But we know that the people that come to our gym are not wanting to be drilled consistently about tempo, load, volume, etc. So we obviously will educate it at the start of the blocks, end of the blocks. We have our testing weeks as well. But the biggest thing that people want to come to Crew for is because it's an outlet, and they want to socialize, and they want to be a part of something that's cool but get results at the same time.
Gyms are the new nightclubs.
100%, man.
100%. Come to Crew on a Saturday morning.
It's pumping, bro. We're DJs. 40 a class.
So what are some of the biggest struggles that you guys have faced then? Because it's not all rainbows, right? So what are some of the biggest struggles that you guys have kind of gone through as a business that you think listeners out there can get a lot out of?
I definitely think it's keeping yourself sane. I know for myself, without Jace, I probably wouldn't keep, so sane to what our product is, because it's not easy at all. Social media can make things look amazing, and Crew is amazing, and it is super successful, and we are doing great numbers. But at the same time too, with those great numbers comes big overheads, a lot of stress, finding the right team. You're dealing with a lot of different personalities and stuff as well. So you got to stick to your product, and whenever times get tough, you can't want to change it because you're afraid that it's not working, because you will get that kind of slingshot moment. But I know a big thing with Jason and I is also we've done our second facilities in a 14-month period after doing our first one. Trying to execute it as big as we wanted this second one to be was very financially stressful. And we had to go large again, and we done the exact same thing as we did with our first facilities. We executed everything we had to get it going again. Because we just wanted to give people all across Melbourne what we had in Braybrook, and we just want to keep doing that, and we're never going to go small. So I definitely think a big thing for myself is obviously definitely keeping sane, sticking to the product all the way through. That was kind of my main thing, and I'm lucky enough to have him make sure that, you know, I can do that.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with him. Like, you know, there's a lot of things like, you know, if we stick to, you know, the backing the product, you know, there's always going to be struggles. I think there was struggles like obviously COVID being number one, and then like I think like sometimes in a timeline in your head you see things and you're like, oh, things don't plan out the way that you want them, but man, I think it just comes back to backing yourself. You know, we believe our product, you know, being two good people, we have a really good community. Just backing yourself the whole way, man. Like, and you know what, bro? We're so young, and I'm still learning every day, honestly. Like, and I think that is one of the best things that I can take away from like the whole thing is like, I learned so much about me, Damon, and crew through COVID. Once we never really had a smooth sale of gym because it was always lockdown open. So I think now like it's exciting to sort of see where we can be, but trust the process and just learn along the way, man. Like, you know, you have to, if you're not learning, bro, you're going to do it wrong. You know what I mean? You're going to hit a brick wall soon. So every day, like, I'm learning. There's things that we're implementing, and that you can never know enough, I guess. Like, you know, the moment you stop learning.
And you learn your best, you learn the most from the toughest times.
I agree.
Definitely. And you know what's something I took away from one of your podcasts that you'd done was knowing what you're good at and delegating what you're not good at. And who did you have a conversation with?
Was it the cross
footy player?
No, it was the
Tom Mitchell?
Yeah, that was it. So and that was something that spoke massive to Jason and I. And we actually were in the car and we were talking about that. Like, you need to get a good team on board. You can never go into a business and open a business and think you can do everything inside the business because you can't.
It's people better than you.
It's impossible. And as much as being an owner, you feel like you're in control of everything, you're not. I know what I'm great at. I know what Jason's great at, and so does he. And then understanding that getting people on board, spending money, and also getting people to do jobs for your business, it's so fine. It is completely fine because they will empower your business and make it a better product than you will be able to. And I think, like when Jason said, learning was one of the biggest things for us with growing crew. You know, like we went from just having me and him. Now we've got over 20 staff on board. And we've got 2 managers on board. We're a marketing team. And from day one, having none of that to now, you know, having over 20 staff and, a full management team behind us, it's just massive to know that, like, delegating jobs and having people come on board that are better at doing things than you are is one of the best things that you can do in business, and it will grow your business more and faster than you being able to do it on your own. So I think when you financially can do it, and even if sometimes you need to make sacrifice from your own wage to pay someone else, but then it's a long-term effect. It will bounce, and then the business will start growing.
100%. I think
we had no managers for like 12 months, bro. And it was just, we hate admin. Like, don't get me wrong, we do it, but it's not our forte. We love coaching. We love being in the gym, yeah?
I'm going to make a bet. He did all the admin.
No way.
No, but so I 100% agree. The most important thing to a business success that a founder can actually action is hiring people that are better than you at doing the thing you're hiring them for.
Dropping the ego and being like, bringing people on board.
If you want to hire a marketer, you need to bring someone in who's better at that than you. If you want to hire a coach, you need to bring someone in who's at the same level or better than you. Absolutely. If you want to hire someone in HR or whatever it is, you need to hire people that are better at you than the thing that they're doing, right? Because that's when the business grows exponentially.
And learning from them too, Kyle, is a massive thing too. Don't just hire them on board and then give them the role and let them take the reins. Like, we sit down with like our manager 2RC, we pick our marketing team's brain. Like, even our PTs that we've got on board, there's PTs at our gym that have more qualifications than us, and getting feedback from them and learning from our team is massive. It shows respect, and respect goes a long way. But also, like, if you hire that team on board and you delegate a job, don't just let them take the reins and go. be with them, ride the way with them, and know what they're doing and learn, because it's the biggest thing. Like if you can start learning, everything, you can understand their struggles too. When they run into a brick wall and they can turn around to you and bounce off each other, it's an amazing thing.
100%. All right, guys, we've made it to the very last segment of the show, which is Quickfire. So
There we go.
I'm going to give you guys some questions. Now, Quickfire doesn't mean that it has to be quick. You just answer the question how you want. We're going to go one by one.
Can you swear?
You can swear. You can swear.
That's all he cares about. I'm worried about these answers. He's worried about swearing.
Yeah, so I'll point the question towards both of you, and then you can answer one by one, and we'll kind of go through it. And these are just like really simple questions that have really great answers.
Yeah.
One piece of advice for your younger self.
One piece of advice I could probably give myself is keep saying don't overreact. I'm a very overreacting person, so I definitely could let myself calm down a bit and process things. That would help me a lot in business.
Why do you think that's important?
Because sometimes people don't think that, like, when you react, it's not passion coming from an anger point of view, or like you've been upset. So I think if you can, not panic and take things in and be calm and then execute what's in here, rather than like freak out, I think that's the biggest thing.
That's honestly one of my biggest growths, but I still suck at it. Because it's true. Like, and especially when you come from like a place of like, as you start to grow a team and the team gets bigger and bigger and bigger, you have to let go of the reins a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And you have to start to allow mistakes to happen. But that's the hardest thing to do, because we've been doing what we've been doing for 10 years.
Yeah.
And we know the business, and we know how to execute, and we know you have to get up at 4 a.m. and you have to go to bed at 9 p.m. and do all that stuff. And then when someone else comes into your business and isn't doing those things or isn't executing to the level you want,
you got to understand.
But it's so hard,
it is.
right? Because sometimes you're just like, I just want this to be successful, and I want you to be successful.
Yeah.
But that communication can come off wrong, and all of a sudden that's when that barrier comes up, and that's like, again, it's probably one of my biggest growths, but it's still probably one of my greatest weaknesses, and it's something that I think is a superpower. Yeah. As a founder, because there's times when you do it and you're like, fuck.
Yeah, for sure.
That's it. That's what I need to do.
Yeah.
Best piece of advice to my younger self would be to focus on yourself and do what's best for you. I think being a younger, when I started working, I worked for someone else and I built someone else's dream. And, I remember it was just, I was like, why can't I do this? Or, it was like, I should be in this position. I'm doing all this work. I want to do this. I want to build a team, but I did it for someone else for so long. So I think focus on yourself as a young kid and do what's best for you, and when you look long term.
Why do you think people struggle with that? Right? Because, one thing that I believe is that, like, it's drilled into us to be a nice person. It's drilled into us to do things for others, and I think that we get mixed up in the fact that just because you're focusing on yourself and you're doing what's best for yourself doesn't mean that you're the opposite of that. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think a lot of people care about others' opinion and stuff as well. I think that plays a big role in why people don't go and execute what's best for them, and they stay calm and just keep going along with it each day by day. So I think opinions of other people play a big role in why people don't want to execute what they truly love. And you're someone that's obviously nailed that, Carl. Like you went from like a footy lad playing footy, being a PT, full 180 now, running like a very successful business and putting yourself completely out there, posting content maybe not everyone would enjoy looking at and agreeing with, but like, now that you're doing it, you've got so much respect from so many people,
I think once you get over that, right, and once you get over the fact that people are going to judge you no matter what you do.
Yeah. Oh man, whether it's you do something amazing, you still get judged for it. It's crazy.
Yeah, people are going to judge you no matter what you do, and once you start to put yourself first and you focus on yourself, naturally you become a happier person. You become someone who backs themselves. You become someone who doesn't care what everyone else says and does what you want to do. And that's actually the best thing for the closest people around you. Yeah. Right? Not not the outer, not the people that are going to judge and they're going to talk shit and they're going to do all that, but the people that are actually in your inner circle.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do for those people is actually do what you love and focus on you, because then you can, once you get that under control, you can start to focus on everyone else around you.
That's exactly right. Yeah, you can only, mate, you are as strong as your weakest link, and if your weakest link is yourself, you will never grow a good team, man. You know, it's 100%. So important to focus on yourself.
All right, so one piece of advice for someone thinking of starting a business.
I definitely think it's reverse engineer the product, and I like to work worst case to best case. But I also definitely think that it's like, do take your time, do make sure you go over everything properly, but when you execute it, everything needs to go into that basket. And then once you obviously let that gate open, you just got to go for it, man, and you got to make sure that you don't take your foot off the accelerator at all. It's not going to be easy. It might take you 12 months to get your, slingshot outbreak, or it might take a month. But my biggest thing is, like, you just got to keep pushing hard. And that was something with the Hoppers Crossing location when we did execute it. Second facilities was hard. It was massive. The joints double the size of our Braybrook one. We opened 2 weeks before Chrissy, and then it could become January. So there was a 5-week period where it was super hard. Leads weren't coming in. After Australia Day, after the 26th of Jan went past, the last 3 weeks we've had over 65 leads come in. And that to me was like making sure that you stick to it, put your foot down on the pedal and just keep pushing forward, and keep being passionate, and it will definitely come. You
never know how close to gold you are, right?
100%.
What's that mean?
Keep digging. No, I totally agree with what Damon said. Like, execute the business. And if that goes back to what we said before, back yourself. If you're not backing yourself right before you're about to execute it, something's wrong. You know what I mean? Sit down, map everything out, and just be sure of it. You know what I mean? Like, you have to believe the business is going to work before you execute it. If you don't believe in it, you need to keep working on it. It needs to be, there's a missing piece of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. What's the most important trait a business owner must have, and why?
I definitely think it's communication with your team. I think that without loving your team and believing in them, you're left on your own. So for myself and Jace at Crew, we don't act as a boss at all. And that might wow people a lot and think that you're not in control. But I think if you show enough respect to your staff and employees, and you love them as much as you're loving your own product and giving them the confidence in learning and growing, I think there is no reason why your product won't work and grow. And that's my one thing that I'm massive on. When I walk in Crew, I want to get behind everyone that works for the gym, and I'm very passionate about their goals and what they want to execute. And I know if I show them the respect, they're going to show me the exact same respect back and the passion that I have for my business. That goes back to what we were talking about before. Giving people the reins to your business, they will do the right thing and they'll be passionate about it if you're very passionate to them and you're obviously getting behind them and being their number one supporter. So that's my biggest thing.
Mine would be just be open to feedback. Not everything's going to be perfect. So if a client says to you one day, I'm not happy with this or this thing, you have to be open to it. It's not one way or the highway kind of thing. You've got to be versatile in the way you think. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be open to different things and open to suggestions and things you might not like in your head that you think that won't work, but they might work. Drop the ego kind of thing and just be open to feedback.
Amazing. What's one thing you wish you knew sooner in business?
Money doesn't grow on trees.
Money doesn't grow on trees, bro. I chuck Jace under the bus heaps of this, man. I always send him through an invoice and he's like, bro. And I'm like, all good, let's just do it. Definitely. I definitely think that knowing your financial position and definitely understanding that investing back into business is great, but doing it at the right time is very important too. And that's something we've learnt as business owners. We have executed these huge facilities and sometimes it's turned around and bit us on the ass and we're like, fuck.
I remember opening at Braybrook, and it was like first 3 months, and like everyone said to me, man, you don't make money for 2 years. And I'm like, bro, after 3 months, I'm like, there's money there, bro. And then we had bill after bill after bill, and I was like, bro, there's no money left. What everyone said was so true. You know, it was like, man, like it's gonna suck before it grows, kind of thing. It wasn't an overnight success. We I remember so clearly. I remember looking at him and I'm like, bro, we got a little bit of money in the bank. Like it's good, you know. Like I feel like we're gonna do really well. And then bang.
I think the biggest thing to give
I thought
people
making up bills and sending them to me, bro. I'm like, these can't be true.
I think people also need to know on the outside world when they go into business as well. You need to learn basic accounting and you need to learn money. It's very, very important.
I know financial literacy is an absolute superpower.
It's like you need to understand yourself. You can't just rely on your accountant to do everything for you. You need to understand what's going on. You need to understand how to read invoices. You need to understand projected cash flow. You know, you need to know your profits. You need to know what the company's turning over weekly, monthly, your outgoings. So then when you do want to execute basic things, maybe a stock order for a fridge or more equipment or apparel, all this stuff, you need to understand what the business is doing. So I think learning basic accounting, and even if it's to pay your accountant a little bit of extra money to maybe sit in on a 1 hour meeting once a week to learn some things, or there's so many online courses, and I know you do a lot about it as well, that can educate you on these basics of business. It's number one to us, and it's something that we're still learning continuously.
Yeah, man. Before we started that, I was so like clueless to the whole accounting thing, bro. I used to walk out of the account and be like, man, I'm so much more confused than when I walked in. You know, and it was it used to suck, bro. I used to walk home and be like, man, everything she said all these big words. I'm like, she's confused the shit out of me.
Yeah.
But now I understand it because when the business grows, I'm there. I'm taking notes, and now I understand the ins and outs of it.
People don't understand that, like, you know, business isn't just about marketing and fucking leads and all that kind of shit. Like, that's the stuff that, you know, gurus use to kind of bring you in. But
yeah, bloody oath.
The most important thing, especially when you kind of get past the initial phase in business, is like you need to like understand that the rate limiter on your growth is the resources you can put towards that strategy.
Yeah.
Right? So if you don't have, you know, like you could have the biggest opportunity land on your desk and you can't take it because you are either one, fearful of spending money, or you got none to spend.
Exactly. And I remember one day, Kyle, like someone said to me, you know, like, oh man, it wouldn't be hard to run a gym. And I was like, oh, why? And he's like, oh, you just, you know, two boys that, you know, played footy and boxing, like couldn't be that hard. And I was like, yeah, fair enough, didn't buy it. And I remember I said to Jace after that, I'm like, man, if people only knew the back end of business, and that what you just said is perfect. Nailing our second location could only do it because we learned basic accounting that whole 14-month period, and understanding how much money we need to save per week, what we need to put away, what we can spend, what we can't spend, our wages that we need to pay. That was the biggest thing for us, and learning what the business was doing. So then when an opportunity arises, we could execute it. And we actually weren't planning to do Hoppers Crossing, man. We were planning to go up to Gold Coast. We actually flew up there, remember? And I looked at a couple of buildings up there, and we were going to do that. And that was on the cards. And we were lucky enough that actually a member signed up to the gym, and he hit me up, and he goes, can I talk to you at the front? And I walked out the front, and he said to me, hey, man, I've got a building. I currently run a gym. It's an Ultimate U facilities, but I'm getting out of it. Can you take over my lease? And I said, let me come look at it. Went and looked at it, and luckily we were in a financial position because we knew what the business was doing, that we could go, all right, sweet, let's do it, tick. And it was the best thing we did. We got Hoppers. It's in that 200 class-based members now. We've got our recovery centre, Pilates, and leads are coming in really, really good. And we could only do that because we could execute it. We had the money there to do it.
But you know what gets me, man? Like people that will be like, oh, you're so lucky you got 2 gyms. I had this conversation with someone today actually, like, oh, you're so lucky. Lucky? Man, we worked our ass off for this place, bro, and we had to learn the basics to get where we are. There's no luck involved. Don't get me wrong. We worked super hard, long nights, early mornings, man. Like
I didn't finish school, brother.
You know, like, but mate, it was all hard work. It was literally all balls. Like we're obviously a lot of balls and brains. You know what I mean? Like we went
More balls.
hard. But the thing is, like, you know, it gets me, bro. When people say you're so lucky, it's like, what lucky, man?
It's funny how there's certain people that are lucky, though, right?
I invested every single cent we had into this place. Like lucky. Jeez, man, come on, give me a break.
Yeah, man, you know, you get more luck as you work harder and
That's
you
exactly
put more
right.
into it. That's just the key. You knuckle down.
You do good things and good things come, man. And I definitely think that, you know, for Crew and for Jace, opportunities are endless now. You know, we're getting some awesome things come to the table. More locations that we're going to be opening in the works, and there's a lot popping up now, and a lot of, you know, big name people, well-known people that want to work with us, which is, you know, amazing because we've, you know, stuck to our product.
Yeah, I mean, like we've all been in business now for probably 10 years.
Yeah.
Probably only just getting a good hang of it the last 2-3 years. You know,
sure.
like finally kind of realize, you know, we actually might be driving the wheel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Awesome, guys. I want to say a massive thanks for coming on. I think that there's a lot of nuggets in there, and that was a really good episode. Do you want to let everyone know where they can find you? So
Our 2 locations, we've got 123 Cranwell Street in Braybrook, and then our second location is 9 Desire Place in Hobbs Crossing. It's just off Royal Geelong Road. Obviously, if we weren't clear on it, our business model is strength and conditioning classes, boxing classes, and then we have full gym access, decked out gym where you have gym access from 5 a.m. till 10 p.m. 7 days a week. We have recovery centres in both facilities, so ice baths, traditional saunas, Normatec boots, and then we have Reformer Pilates upstairs and chiropractors, physios, osteos, and then we finish it off with a cafe at each location to grab a coffee on the way out and have a laugh and play a bit of basketball in the court that we have. So there are 2 locations, and we're planning to execute another one in the next 12 months. We won't drop where it is, but it's definitely
very exciting. And Crew Official Instagram?
Crew Official on Instagram, bro. Crew Fitness Performance on Facebook.
Amazing. Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for you guys coming down and coming on the podcast. Disco, thanks for putting it all together. To everyone who tuned in, the support lately has been absolutely crazy, to be honest. So we're currently sitting at number 11 in Australia for entrepreneurship. So get us in the top 10. We called it out last week. Reviews, subscribes, everything. Make sure you keep pushing the needle for us. But just want to say a massive thanks to you for all the support. It's been quite overwhelming. All right, guys. We'll see you next week.